Hello and welcome to the bottom of the pitch deck. Today we have a deck profile from Gary, who came in second place in Dutch National Championship with the champion Viserai. Gary, welcome.
Thanks.
You played Viserai and you became second place.
Yeah, I did.
How was it?
It was mostly great. I mean, it was great. I hadn't played for that long, and I got into the game, and I decided I wanted to play Viserai, and this was when Prison was still legal, and then I ordered all the cards for the deck, and then Prison went Living Legend, and then I had to work out a plan for Oldhim, because I didn't want to change my deck, and everybody told me there were going to be a lot of Oldhims in the tournament. As it turns out, there were not that many Oldhims, but I happened to play the same Oldhim twice, both in the Swiss and then in the finals.
Yep.
And that was really difficult, but otherwise it was very good.
So how many weeks have you been playing? Because it's not a lot.
So I checked yesterday, and my first game of Flesh and Blood was at an armory on the 4th of August. So a little less than 2 months.
That's amazing. And already second place in nationals.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of help from like the people in the like Amsterdam community. Also, have to give a shout out to Jamie Presto on Twitter. I don't even know his last name, but I had a coaching session with him.
Amazing.
And he helped me go over like matchups that I didn't know about, like Dorinthia and these sorts of things, because I never played against them. And then I've played like, I think I have 170 games on Viserai on Talishar. So, a bit of a degenerate there.
Yep, apparently. Yeah.
And it helped, yeah.
So there was kind of a roller coaster for you, the top 8.
Yeah.
Semifinals, there was an issue with Spellbound Creepers.
Yep.
Which you made into the finals. Ended up with a 5-card hand at one point.
Yes.
Did you feel like if you didn't show that 5-card hand, it would have been different?
Don't know. I think I needed a lot to go right for me in that matchup. I think I needed him to not draw as many things with Dominate early on. I needed to get more of my Rune Chant like creation cards earlier. I basically, the way I was going into that matchup was I need to high roll as hard as possible to have a chance of winning. So I think that 5-card hand would have been a step in the right direction if I hadn't done that. But I still think my chance of winning was low. I mean, he's playing a hero that's very favored into me, and he's a very good Oldhim, and he's a much more experienced player, so I was the underdog.
You still did amazing. Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, with disregard with the mistakes. So I think both Aiden and I in the semifinals were both very nervous.
For sure.
Being on stream, and
it happens.
It happens. It feels really embarrassing to have made that mistake.
Not at all.
I'm sure Aiden feels the same, but yeah, good that it was caught.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
What were your Oldhim was your worst matchup?
Yeah, so I've got the cards laid out here. So yeah, Oldhim was my worst matchup. I think I also have not a great matchup into Icelander if they're like playing it very well. So those are the two that I was most worried about. I think like Dromai is a good matchup. You can still create the Rune Trance when you use Marver Skies and you hit the dragons. And doing the split damage is really good. She doesn't have a lot of Arcane Barrier, and she doesn't have a lot of blue cards. So I felt confident with that. Briar and Fi, I think it's a decent matchup. I don't know exactly how favored it is, but it doesn't feel... It feels like it's very winnable. It feels
50-50, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So Oldhim was the thing that I was most worried about.
What does your side deck tells us about Oldhim? What do you side in?
So firstly, it's these 4 cards on the side, the Tomes and the Leader Charge. I actually keep them in the main deck. I've just put them here because these are cards that I sometimes pull out. Yeah,
no worries.
But like 9 times out of 10, they're in the main deck. So my plan against Oldhim is based around Nine's Blade of the Blood Oath. and these cards, Read the Runes and Runeblood Incantation. So I'm not sure whether it's a good game plan, but the game plan is to try and build as many rune charms as you can, then use Ninth Blade in your turn. So maybe something like Marver in Sky's Ninth Blade, and then maybe, there's a lot of things you can add to that to make it an even bigger turn, but try and push 25 damage so that you can net 10 or 30, so you can net 15. That's the plan. And then basically block as much as you can. Hope you draw these cards early. I include Sink Below so that I have some better blocking. So in the Oldham matchup, I bring in 3 of these, and so these 9 cards. And this one. I also bring in my 3rd copy of Rattlebones, and the reason is that you only have one Ninth Blade, so once you've played it, Oldham won't be dead, you have to use Rattlebones to get it back. And I also take out the 2 Lead the Charge, because I'm not trying to do go again every turn, I'm actually mostly just blocking, and they only block for 2. And yeah, that's the plan for...
what else would you be taken out? Because you side in
Alright, so
7-ish? 9,
the way I've set
10,
up my deck is that the rest of the deck is 52 cards. So of these cards, excluding the 4 on the side, I have to bring in 8 normally. Now I'm bringing in 11. So I take out 2, and I actually played 61.
Which is fine against Oldham, because you're probably going into the overtime if...
I mean, hopefully.
He'll try, he'll try,
but, he killed me way before that,
Okay, awesome.
And then, I mean, do you want me to talk about any of the other?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so then I think something that's unusual here, and something I feel like was unique maybe to my deck, is this card here, This Round's on Me. I was losing a lot to Fies, especially Fies playing the Kadachis on Talishar, and so I thought that initially I had 2 spots for Is That All You Got, which is a defense reaction. You get to draw a card if their attack has less than 3, 2 or less. But that didn't feel as good, so I included 2 of This Round's on Me. I played a Fi only once, and it was in the quarterfinals, but I played it, and they said it was bad for them, and I won that game, so
perfect.
I'm glad I included it.
It worked.
I think the rest is quite straightforward. In general, so what I would do, I think I'm a little bit low on like Runeblade attacks. Ideally, I would have something like a Meet and Greet, or some people use the yellow Shrill of Skullform. I didn't include those because I wanted to have Command and Conquer for some of the matchups, especially like if I had to play against Lexi or something. And I wanted to have the Runic Reclamations for my matchups against, I suppose, for killing Channel Mat Heroics and Channel Lake Frigids, which I did in the semi-finals against Aiden. And so when I guess... in general, I'm bringing in 8 of these cards, and just as a note, when I'm playing against Fi, I will swap in This Round's on Me for the 2 tomes. So that I still have the same number of blues.
Same blues. Exactly.
I'm also playing 2 extra blues to what a lot of other people play. One extra in the main deck, I guess 3 in total.
Any reason?
I thought it would be really helpful against Icelander.
Yeah, definitely.
Another reason to bring in these is that they have 3 block, as opposed to the tome, which only has 2.
That works. Equipment.
Okay. So I think it's quite standard. You have... So, I guess I can move this. In a normal game, or a normal aggro matchup, I'm running... these 4. It's Crown, Grasp of the Arknights, Aether Ironweave, and Spellbind Creepers. In a match that I think is going to go a bit longer, like Oldham or like when I was playing Dorinthia. I'd swap out the Aether Ironweave for the Tunic.
For the extra resource.
For the extra resource over a long game. And then if I'm playing into a Runeblade, so I played against quite a few Briars, and I played against one Viserai Mirror, what I like to do is replace the Grasp of the Arknight for Vexing Cool Hands if I'm going second. So the idea is that Grasp of the Arknight is really good on the first turn. I mean, if you're going first, because you can pitch something to it, create a rune chant, and you also just use it over the course of the turn. Additionally, if you're going second, you're probably going to have to deal with more arcane damage over the course of the game, so having the arcane barrier is helpful against Viserai especially. But in that matchup, I still ran the Aether Ironweave.
Okay.
Because the games don't last long, and it's nice to be able to get 2 resources in one turn. Then the other things I have in here are for basically the Icelander matchup. So we have the basically Spring Tunic and Arcane Barrier 3.
Yep, it's needed.
I think so. Yeah, I had a game where my only game in the tournament against an Icelander, I was running AB3, and it really allowed me to sit back for the first few turns. They had a Channel Lake Frigid, and I could have done some really mediocre turns, but instead I just kept the blues in my hand to pitch to their damage, and by turn 4 or 5, their channel was gone.
Yep.
And then I could turn on my game plan. And I felt like 3 was enough to feel safe in that.
Awesome. So, do you have any secret tech in there?
Yes, actually, I think I would say that the most unusual card I'm running, which I'm not sure if it's actually that good, but I was enjoying it, is I played 2 Drawn to the Dark Dimensions. I would have to play with it more to decide if it's good. I originally had 2 yellow Shrills, and I decided to swap into this for the card draw. It did definitely, through the course of the tournament, allow me to do quite interesting turns where I had this in my hand, and I didn't have enough cards to play this and then use my my boots.
Yep.
The
Spellkeeper?
Yeah, Spellbound Creepers, to give it go again. But knowing that I was going to draw a card meant that I was guaranteed to have at least 1 to pitch to pay for the Creepers to then do the turn.
Yeah.
So that made it quite interesting. Also, it being reduced based on the rune chance you have also means sometimes you can play it
For free.
Yeah. Fairly often, yeah. Other than that, I would say just this round's on me.
Yep. Okay. So, especially since you're a newer person, how did you go about deck building? Because it can be challenging to start a new deck, a new game, and feel comfortable playing it.
Yeah. So I started off with Hayden Dale's Minnowism, the little Viserai deck. And it's kind of embarrassing. For a while, I couldn't really work out how to play the deck because I didn't understand that if you play if you use Spellbound Creepers to play an instant that has go again, non-attack that is now an instant that you then get.
They
an
gain the
action
go
point.
again. Yeah.
So I couldn't work out how the turns were going. So then I switched into a simpler list that I can't even remember which channel it was on, but it was a very straightforward list that basically had a sideboard. You only bring in attacks from the sideboard. You choose 8 of them for each matchup, and I thought, this is a good deck for me because I don't understand all the matchups that well, but I can probably work out whether I want to bring in a CNC or a Erase Phase.
Yep.
And then from there, I played that deck for the tournament that I qualified for Nationals. That was 2 weekends ago. And then in between, I was realizing I needed a better game plan against Oldhim. So then I just read lots of lists. I saw that it's quite common to bring in 3 Read the Runes, 3 Rune Blood Incantations, and the 9th Blade. So I was like, okay, with that, then what else do I have space for? But I made a lot of not great decks on the way to this one. And obviously this is not perfect, or nobody can know if it is. But I was much happier with this one. I think if I was going to do it again, I would start by looking at each of the matchups and thinking about what cards I would want in each of the matchups, and then seeing which cards show up in a lot of those, and then trying to build from there, rather than building out the list, adding some stuff to the sideboard, and then going to think about the matchups and like, oh, which of these cards that are already there do I want to bring in?
Anything you would change about the deck, going forward, knowing what you know now?
I would have to see, because I really warped my sideboard a lot around this idea of playing against Oldhim, and then that was the only match I lost twice. So I feel like I'm leaning too much into it, given that it's still a very difficult matchup. So I might try and either add more cards to make that game plan much more viable, or give up on it and just accept that I can't beat Oldhim.
Is it worth using your side deck to try and beat Oldhim? Is the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's also based around the fact that I currently believe that it's not possible to just beat him if you're playing a very aggressive game. That might be wrong, but I didn't have enough time to test it, and yeah, it just seems as though you can get about 14 damage a turn with your normal turns, 13, 14, and he can block like
pretty much all minus maybe one. Yeah, for sure. Any shout outs? I'm sure you've got a lot of shout outs.
Yeah. Well, definitely Aries gave one for Presto, but also to Aiden. Aiden got me into the game. We used to play Magic, and we still play Magic together, but he got me into the game, and he's been really helpful for teaching me the game. And we got to play in the
semifinals. Yeah.
And then also Marius from the Amsterdam Flesh and Blood scene. He was also really helpful. He played a lot of Viserai, taught me a lot of the things. Also lent me the Arknight chart for the last tournament. And then everybody else in the Amsterdam scene.
Cool. Thank you.